Hi, everybody. Welcome to the inaugural episode of the Nameless Packers pod. We've got a lot to talk about today because it's Bears Hate Week and football is back. Tomorrow night, Detroit Lions, Kansas City Chiefs, and it might be an interesting game. We're ready to go. How are you doing, Aaron?
I'm so excited.
I just knocked my mic over. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I know. Right? I'm simmering in it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you've been soaking in it too today, from what I understand.
I've been soaking in it today.
Yeah,
Lots of podcasts. Yeah.
That's right. Well, obviously the Packers kick off the home, or not the home opener, but their opening game against the Bears. Mm-hmm. And this is a big one. But before we do that, we want to give some sort of credits to what happened over the preseason. Sure. So there was some good, there was some bad, and of course the Bears the same way. You know, they brought in a bunch of people. There was some good, there was some bad. Sure. But for my money right now, and you know, during the season, we're probably going to do a chef's kiss where we pick like the best play of the game. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see any point in doing that for preseason. There's just nothing there. I mean, there are good plays, there are plays I like, but not a one of them matters.
Sure.
So I think for me, like right now, I think seeing the way that Jordan Love has progressed from, and I've seen it since they brought him in. You know, they brought him in, when they drafted him, it was COVID year. He didn't even get to play any preseason games. So he got truncated by 1 year there in terms of preseason games. But we've seen minimal. We have seen one start, and it was not great. But since that time, it seems like some things have improved. And of course, we'll talk more about that when we get to our predictions time, which is later in the show. But for both of these teams right now, opening up on September 10th, this is a big deal in terms of quarterbacks. You know, what are you looking at once the preseason closes up?
Well, you know, I'm a gambler. So
okay.
I've been looking at the lines.
I've
been looking at the lines.
You're looking for money.
I'm looking for the money.
Yeah?
They have them. This game is just -1 +1. I mean, it's very close. Like, it's by a point. They've got them predicted. Yeah. And I don't know after the news of what happened today, which we'll get into in a little bit, with people may not be starting for us, if that line will move in the next couple days or not.
Did you bet on it when it was big for the Bears? I would have. I didn't have money to throw at it, but I sure as heck would have.
This was like 2 days ago I looked, and over under is 43.5, or it was. I mean, I haven't looked at it today. I guess I should look at it today, but I was going to take the under.
You were going to take the under.
I was going to take the under. I mean, I don't know.
It's the way.
I don't know. I'm afraid to touch the points right now, but I'm going to see how this shakes out. I might place my bets on Friday or Saturday.
Well, listen, it's the season opener for all these teams. Why can't it be the season opener for you too? I mean, you know, you got to warm up to it sometimes a little bit, get your feet under you. So
what you'll learn about me is that I'm a terrible gambler, so don't follow any of my advice.
I was going to say, so we're not going to have a segment on Aaron's picks of the week.
We won't have a can't lose parlay.
No. We could have a can lose parlay.
Sure, absolutely.
And then, here's what I pick. Just pick the opposite.
Absolutely.
So, well, that happens to me all the time.
Just fade me.
Yeah.
Fade me.
All right, well, we're going to come back and we're going to break down some Packers news from the offseason and get into some other stuff. We've got, you know, potential trade rumors that have been going around. Not super serious right now, but we do have the trade deadline still coming up. And, you know, there's been talk of this Packers safety situation, and it's bad. Like, it does not look good. Of course, the names that are out there, we'll chat about all that when we get back. Injury report, as you mentioned, became important today. Tweet, the Twitter girl was on all over that. Aaron was all over that.
I was all over it today.
We'll be back in just a minute. Okay, we're back, and Matt LaFleur met with the media today. It was, as usual, a lot of coach speak. What is the catchphrase of this entire press conference off season, Aaron? She texted me the day after LaFleur's first press conference and said, take a shot for every time he says it's a fluid situation.
It's a fluid situation. This is a fluid situation. It's not about one man. It's about the team.
That's right. We're going to take it a day at a time, which is fine. It's fine. A coach has to do that. You don't want to tip your hat. The Packers are a little bit overly concerned about some of that, I think. But the one thing in terms of, and even just moving straight into the injury report, since there wasn't that much meat on that bone, but one big thing, and I've been talking about this because I swear LaFleur said Rashawn Gary will not play week 1 at Soldier Field. I swear he said it 2 weeks ago, and he did make it clear Rashawn Gary is going to be playing in this game, which is very, very big because the Packers have found, these, a couple of edge rushers. You draft an edge rusher. Preston Smith is one of the 2 people on the team that's over 30 or over. But, Van Ness is, I think, going to be really good, first round draft choice, but he's also a rookie. And at the edge rush position, the Bears have tried to bolster with their number 10 overall draft pick, the right tackle, and then out of Tennessee, no less. And then their left tackle that they like as well. So, coming out as a rookie, I think it would be great experience for Van Ness. But to have Rashawn Gary back, that's just huge right now. So it looks like he will play. I'm sure he'll be on a pitch count, even though he didn't really answer those questions. This is between Coach and Flea and Rashawn Gary, and I'm sure Rashawn Gary has some sway, shall we say, on that by now. But I don't know if I've talked to you much about ACLs. My biggest concern has always been, Soldier Field is pretty well known for not having the greatest surface in the world, and that's incredibly dangerous for a guy who's just coming off an ACL injury. So he's not, I assume, going to be 100%, and he's not going to take 100% of the reps he did, but he's going to play. So, and there's some other injuries you know about, and we're going to give you the Twitter turnover here. That sounds like a bit in and of itself.
Sure. Well, if you're in Packer Nation, you already probably know that as of today, LaFleur had a press conference saying that Watson and Dobbs were both on the did not practice list today for hamstrings. Both of them have hamstring issues. Of course, LaFleur being who he is, he's not going to divulge much information to us. So we'll watch it as the week goes. That's what he said, is they will see how the week plays out. And if they play, they play.
And we know those are 2 of 3 hammies that have happened in Packer Nation this week.
I've got some hammy issues too.
Got some hammy issues too? You could touch your toes earlier, so that's good.
I could. I don't know. It's been season up. I have been out of the gym. I've been on the IR, personal IR for a couple weeks now.
Yeah. So, and their injuries, this is the period of time where these injuries become very bad in terms of, now you've got to play games that matter. And we saw Travis Kelce goes down. I don't see him playing with an hyperextended knee. I saw the MRI on that, and I don't really know how to read those, but it did not look good for me. It looked like there was a lot of inflammation in there.
Yeah.
First game of the season, AFC against an NFC opponent. I just don't know why they'd risk him, except Kelce. I mean, he's missed like 3 games. Like, he's so durable. But this is the time of year when this stuff really matters. These guys not participating, and if it's a hamstring, hopefully it's just precautionary.
Yeah.
And LaFleur's been known to do that. The Packers are known for being conservative. But if you push it and then you go into a game, these are the type of injuries that you have a problem during the game, you come out, and now you could be gone for several weeks at that point. So now week 1 is pretty much out for you,
right,
and you may miss 2, 3, maybe even more.
Right.
Now, if you do what I did, it'd be even worse, because that's the other injury around the league that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
And that's the Joe Burrow. I want to try and put this on camera so bad, but I don't think I will. Yeah, I Joe Burrowed my calf, shooting a reveal video for a certain podcast that shall remain nameless.
Tell them how you did it.
Okay, this was funny. So we got a helmet, and I put up a post to thank Rocky, who lent us the helmet that Aaron wore. If you did not see that, it is a must-watch video as far as I'm concerned. And it was really cool. And I was honestly taken back. You're standing on turf, you're smelling the grass, it's that time of year, and now I'm standing with a helmet in my hand. I got a little bit sort of maybe hyperactive is what it was about. But, you shot the video without the ear pads on because it was so, taking it on and off and back and forth was a pain, would have been a pain. Well, I wanted the ear pads on because I wanted to strap on a helmet for real. So I jogged back, and you're the one that said, so this is all your fault, basically.
Fine.
She goes, no, it's no big deal. The car's right over there. And I was like, yes. So I jogged down this 2-foot rise and get to the car.
It wasn't even a hill.
And with the helmet in my hand, got the pads out. We just thrown it in one of the bags. And on the jog back, I jogged up that 2-foot hill and heard an audible snap. And literally, I actually pulled my other hammy and my right groin getting off of it. It hurt so bad. And now I have a Joe Burrow strained calf. I've never had an injury like this in my life. I've had them cramp. Boy, this is something else. And because Joe Burrow's going through it, we'll talk about it just for a little bit, because it can be an extensive time to full recovery. So hey, get well soon, Joe. I don't hate you until you play.
He's ready.
Yeah, and it happened several weeks ago, right? I wanted to go back and check because I wanted to know kind of what my time frame might be.
Was that week 1 of joint practices?
I think it was.
With us?
Oh.
Was it Packers joint practice?
I am not sure if it was now.
Preseason has all run together for me.
It has all run together.
We're
ready for some real stuff.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah. But these injuries, this is something that, Green Bay in particular, and this year in particular, we've been so fortunate. You got good news from Rashawn Gary. There's nothing that says he has to come back in that time. And nobody wants to hurry him after what happened with David Bakhtiari. Elton Jenkins just coming off one the year before, David Bakhtiari like the year before that. And all of these guys seem to be ready to go, including our best edge rusher. And now to have this kind of a setback, not sure exactly what it's going to be. But I think it's a dangerous situation, even if they do play. Both, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs. This is now our 1 and 2. Jaden Reed probably being considered a starter, but more in the slot. So it upset me a little bit, I must admit.
Sure. This is a big game. This is a huge rivalry.
This is a big game. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
We want to walk in to Soldier Field and we want to win.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we do now? If Watson and Dobbs don't play, who do we play?
Well, you got a whole list of, I got to get that list out actually, but I don't have the roster in front of me. But, Samori Toure is there and at times seemed to flash in training camp. Leaning on, and then you can always work with, what I'm thinking is you're probably going to work with personnel groupings. So we brought in the problem with that is we're so young at the tight end position. So you can go, 21 personnel, 22 personnel. You can get now 2 running backs on the field. In 21, 2 running backs, 1 tight end. You can have Musgrave there. Kraft has shown some promise, but he's not nearly Musgrave is the gazelle. That's my name for him. He just is. Yeah. He's the one you feel like is plug and play. You've got 2. This would be my game plan. If you lost one of these guys, you're still going to hurt if you lost both of them. But I would be working some 21 personnel in there, get Musgrave in, because Aaron Jones, I don't know, Packer Nation knows this. Aaron Jones is a fantastic pass-catching running back. And A.J. Dillon, when he came out, the big knock on him was that he never had to catch the ball. He wasn't asked to do it. And Brian Gutekunst said, listen, we think he has perfectly fine hands. He has shown that to be the case as well. So that might be the way I roll in a situation like that. It might even be what I'm considering doing in the event that I'm not sure I'm going to cause a re-injury. I talked to Flea, and he's like, it's a hammy. It could be fine. I mean, for crying out loud, it went like that. Mine did. And it was a disaster at that point, and a disaster happening that fast in week 1. Packers are conservative. We'll just have to see. I think they're doing true injury reports on Fridays this year. I mentioned that on my live show. Yeah. But we will have to see. It will be a major adjustment because the drop-off, you're going to be leaning on Jaden Reed at that point. But if you were to lose both of them, you're going to have a kind of a major plan B because you don't have Christian Watson's 4.3 speed to take the top off of defense. And it's not just that. I wouldn't be one bit surprised, and we've got hot takes coming up. I might throw one at you in the sense that it might be Romeo Doubs may have more catches than Christian Watson. Everybody's eyes are going to be on Watson because his last 4 games look like Justin Jefferson. I mean, the people that look at the stats and watch him play, that's what he looked like he could be. Now, you got to do that for a whole season, and you got to be consistent, and you got to stay healthy. He missed his rookie year of training camp with a knee cleanup that they did. And now this. So I'm trying not to put too much on it, but it is a little disappointing, and I do think you have to have a plan B in place in case you need to Either sit them or even just protect them. You just feel like I need to protect them. It's week 1. And that's the other thing. You get week 1 fever, right?
Yeah.
And how much, which game matters more? The week 1 season opener against the Bears or the week 18 matchup at Lambeau Field in December against the Bears?
Sure.
It's the December matchup. You're going to have so much growth that can happen in between, but we are all going to fall apart. If we lose this game, we fall apart.
Well, for everybody, any rivalries across the league, week 1 feels like playoffs. I mean, it's the energy of the fans, the energy of the players. They've been going through preseason, and we're ready. I mean, it's been months since they've hit the field, and it's mattered. And I think that they will play with a little bit more grit. I mean, and excitement. And so, is that going to leave you up to more injuries possibly if we do play them?
Could be, yeah. Could be. You get a little over anxious.
Yeah,
you're not in the flow of the season yet either.
Sure.
So, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, this isn't their first rodeo, but it's their second. So, and I know Romeo has done work on his body as well, but if you're not in that flow yet, it does potentially make a minor chance for some, a risk of an injury there. But, that's the game, And when you talk about like the week 1 being almost like a playoff sort of scenario, there's so much pent up energy. Like,
so much.
Like you would think, like the Chiefs, if I'm a Chiefs fan and I'm playing the Detroit Lions,
No!
That's not how it's going to be. And I say that because, Soldier Field, the smallest seating capacity in the NFL, but that is going to be a hostile environment in all kinds of ways. They are going to be loud. They are going to be stoked. And this is a team, this is a fan base that now believes. I mean, they believe in what Eberflus is doing. And to some extent, we'll talk about this later, to some extent, I agree with them. Of course, I'm a Packer fan. There's no way I'm going that route.
Right.
But I think there are some things that not only them, but then the Detroit Lions did right, and now it looks like the Bears may be doing those right things, and I hate it. I really hate it. So all right, well, we'll have more to talk about. Maybe go around the NFC North a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll pick up on some other news, but we're not quite to the meat of the podcast. That's definitely going to be prediction time. We got to do that, but we'll be back in just a little bit. So the NFC North, Aaron, and I think I mentioned this to you when I tried to pitch you to do the podcast. It was like the NFC North is wide open for like the first time in forever. And I think from what I understand, you got some hot takes on what's going on out there. So fill us in now, will you?
Okay. Listen, if you'd asked me even yesterday what I thought.
Well, you have been a busy girl and it has not all been great.
But if you'd asked me yesterday,
okay,
how I thought the NFC North was going to shake out, I would have said,
oh no,
the Vikings would have taken the division.
Well, they did last year. I mean,
the Lions would come in second, we would come in third, and the Bears would be fourth. That's what I thought. Now,
you get a
because I'm not.
You get to change your mind.
I know. Listen. This is my first hot take. I'm not 100% sold on Love.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
And I think this weekend and this game is gonna probably sway me one way or the other. I'm hoping it sways me in the direction of believing like fully in him. But I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts today, and they had old Pete Prisco on from CBS Sports.
Oh yeah, good old Pete.
He knows ball. He watches a lot of game tape. He has been in this industry for decades, 2 or 3 decades at least. And can you guess who he has to win our division this year?
Well, I'm gotta feel like it's the Bears.
It's the Packers.
Is it the Packers? Okay, well that would be my take. That would probably be closer.
Packers to win the division.
So lay out what reasons did he give? Now, does it start with he believes in Love, and you're not necessarily...
He believes in Love. Yeah, he believes in Love. He believes that the time that he's sat out has been very beneficial for him, and that he's learned a lot. He's watched him in practice. I mean, he went and watched him in preseason, and he he really liked what he saw. And you know, for me, I'm new to Packer Nation, and I am coming in, I guess, a little unbiased to the whole thing, and so I was hearing mixed reports over preseason. You know, he couldn't complete his 2-minute drills. He was struggling with that. And
early in training camp.
Early.
Yeah,
and
there's
so,
definitely been ups and downs.
There were some ups and downs. And then, you know, the footage that I watched, the highlights from preseason that I watched, he didn't play a whole lot in the highlights I watched. It was mostly Clifford and
oh no, you're not one of those start Clifford people.
I'm not. Absolutely not. I'm absolutely.
Give you the stink eye.
I am absolutely not.
Okay, all right. I mean, I'm happy for him, and he did play well.
Sure,
it was really exciting to watch for a preseason
but
game. But
I guess I was very shocked to hear Prisco say that he thought that the Packers were going to clinch to the division and that the Lions were going to come in as wild card. And, you know, I believe in the Lions. I think they're great. I don't think they're there yet. I think this season might be the season before their season. And he also said that about the Bears. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and you look at the Vikings too. I mean, it's clear. I mean, if it's going to be this year or next year, it's still going to be Jared Goff. And,
sure.
Or I mean, it's either going to be Jared Goff or they're not going to get to because they're not going to draw in a quarterback, I don't think, that's going to start and take them to the playoffs his first year. So, you know, it looks a lot like Minnesota where they've got, and Cousins, you know, at times has played well, but he's basically just consistent. If you put weapons around him, he can manage the game. You can win. You can go to playoffs for sure that way.
Sure.
But yeah, now I'm totally with you in the sense that, I mean, Jordan Love is very much an unproven commodity. And that, to me, is the exciting part because we don't know. Like, we're going to fight back and forth about whether he's going to be great or not. But number one, I mean, look who he is following. This is just like when Aaron Rodgers followed Brett Favre. You're like, there is no way. Sure. And then Aaron Rodgers for, you know, 15 years as a starter, 18 years with the team. You know, Jordan Love is kind of the same way. It's like there really isn't any way. But I do like some of the things I see. I'll talk about it in the prediction. Some of the things that I am concerned about from the tape that I've watched. But yeah, interesting to hear Prisco say that. But again, that goes back to this division being so wide open.
Right.
But is that not one of the things that makes football great, though?
Sure.
We're a hard cap league. Any team can get guys in. And if they do it right, they can be contenders.
Yeah.
And that includes this year the Detroit Lions. I said it. I can't even believe I said it out loud. But I do think, you know, that team believes they're playing consistently, at least offensively. I think their defense is going to screw them, is what I think is good. But Aiden Hutchinson is for real. You know, Aiden Hutchinson is for real. They feel good about their backfield, I think. Now, I wouldn't feel good about their backfield, not against Christian Watson in particular. But philosophies change. You know, for years, Green Bay has done several things. One is we're going to grow a young team. We're going to build through the draft. Got away from that a little bit with Brian Gutekunst because Ted Thompson got criticized. I mean, he would just never go after free agents at all. Goody's not that way. He went out and got Preston Smith, Adrian Amos, and he got the Smith brothers and Adrian Amos his first year. Well, now we run into cap trouble, and we've had to kind of revert back to, you know, building through the draft because you don't have money. You don't have money to buy free agents. We had to let our free agents go. Z's gone. Amos is now gone. So, but this is the part of the philosophy is build your team through the draft because they're not going to get expensive for 4, maybe 5 years if you drafted them in the first round and you got a 5th round option on them. And, you know, other things, don't necessarily overspend and don't think that free agency is the answer to everything. But as you're building your team, make sure you always build from the lines out. Obviously, you have to have a quarterback that can at least play, either a quarterback that's a decent game manager and an insanely good defense, or a really good quarterback if you only have a pretty good defense. But those guys, the ball gets snapped. The first person touching the ball is not the quarterback, it's the center. And Green Bay has been so good. I think I mentioned this before, and it's not debatable in my mind. Green Bay is excellent at picking up late round offensive linemen that can flat out play. You know, your David Bakhtiaris of the world. And now they have been for the last, since they drafted Jordan Love, and we've been talking about this on the live show a lot, For 3 years in a row, we drafted 3 offensive linemen. Each draft, that's 9 in 3 years. That's a big chunk of what your investment, that's a big chunk of what you can do with your team. So they built through that. Now, we're going around the NFC North. And what happened in Detroit? They got a quarterback who is serviceable, and Goff has won big games. Goff won that game. Was it in the Coliseum against the Chiefs, like the 52-51 game? Took his team down the field. He has done it. Now, and he had a good year last year. They have every reason to believe in that. But they protected him. They brought in Ragnow. They drafted Ragnow, who I was all about. We, of course, couldn't touch it. Detroit, for years, would get these high-round draft choices, and I would say, you get a Jeff Okudah at number 3, and then they have to trade him away for a 4th. Mm-hmm. And for years, I've been saying and telling Detroit Lions fans, you guys need to parlay those picks into more picks. You can get 2 top 10 picks with that. That's how you're going to build a team that's got enough guys to win. They refused to do it, but guess who did that this year? Chicago Bears did that this year. And that's why there are some things I think that they're doing right that kind of pisses me off. It kind of bothers me a little bit. Because number one, I'm going to say they just stole the whole idea from us. But number 2, they drafted the right tackle. Wright is it out of Tennessee, and they were very high on him at number 10. Now, I snickered a little at that pick because he's a right tackle, and they drafted him at number 10, and so did some of the other people in Bears Nation. However, the kid's a brute. He's a beast. He's a rookie. But the philosophy is changing, I think. Yeah. Now, they did go out and buy up a lot of veteran leadership for that too, which is what we kind of did when Goody came in. But they had the money to do it. They had more salary cap than they had 30-some million. I saw 90 million at some point that they had available because they didn't have to pay. They're not paying Justin Fields anything. Right. Just like the Packers aren't paying Jordan Love anything. And these are your opportunities to do that.
Right.
And I think they feel good about what they did. But again, that philosophy changing. Now, I just talked about what the Packers did, but the Vikings, on the other hand, I'm not quite sure what in the heck they think they're doing. Another hot take?
Do we know how many primetime games they have this year? Because
the Vikings do?
Primetime Kirk Cousins can't close.
Let's give him 8. I mean, why not?
2 Monday nighters.
I'll enjoy watching it.
Night.
Yeah. Packers got 5, if I'm not mistaken, which is more than I expected. And so they must have been doing it on the intrigue to some extent. But I do, and this was, the schedule's way back, so I don't think it was based on, it wasn't based on, we thought Jordan Love performed well in training camp and he's going to be good. It had to be that, who's this guy that's going to replace a legend,
Sure.
And that is intriguing. And I think we're all intrigued about it too. So,
yeah.
All right. So around the league, lots going on. Do you have any more hot takes?
No.
No more hot takes. I'm trying to think if I have any. But yeah, so at any rate, we circle back around to Green Bay. We're going to be talking about the schedule, giving our predictions. But before we do that, we've got another little thing we want to do. When we revealed the show, we talked about prizes, guys. And frankly, we're serious about that. Okay, so this is going to be a kind of a blowout prize giveaway show that we do either at the end of the season or potentially if the Packers do. If Prisco is right, then we'll do it in the playoffs. Every episode we do will have a secret word, okay? You can write it down, keep track of it however you want, but if you listen to the show and you know the secret word and you listen to each show by the end of the season, we're going to have a form for you to fill out, and putting those words in is going to get you entered for free. So no money involved. You just have to listen to us banter about the Packers, which, I mean, who doesn't want to do that? I do this all day long.
Sure.
So at any rate, today's secret word is love. I like the whisper. So love is the secret word. Jot it down if you need to. And we will be back in a little bit with some season predictions and some hot takes, guys. All right, guys, we are back. And it is the official season start week, which means you got to do season predictions, wins and losses for the Packers. You ready to do this, Aaron?
Sure.
All right. So what we've decided to do, and those of you that aren't watching can't see this, but we got a chart, and there are bragging rights on the line, and I suspect there will probably be some kind of a punishment for the loser by the time all is said. Am I wrong with that, do you think?
No, there will definitely be a punishment.
All right. So we're going to put either a red X Green check. We'll go through them one at a time.
Okay.
Ladies first, or you want me to go first? You want me to roll out
Why
first?
don't you? Yeah, I want to
Okay,
see where you
all
go
right.
with this.
Well, when we're going to do specific game predictions with the Bears game in a minute.
Sure.
So this is just a wins losses. Okay,
Sure.
so we can go on with that. I'm not going to say too much. I'm going to try to truncate that because I have some stuff I want to say. But both of these quarterbacks I watched fairly carefully on the All 22. I understand some of the statistical negatives for Justin Fields, and I think those are significant. But I also, with the free agent acquisitions, I think there's a reason that Bears fans are excited for this year. I just don't want them to have any reason to be excited after we get done with them on Sunday. I'm not going to get into where I think the score is going to go, but I am going to say I'm with Pete. I think this one is a win for Green Bay at Chicago, which is saying a lot.
Yes.
And Jordan Love's first start as the full-time starter for the Green Bay Packers.
Okay.
We already know what you're saying. You didn't even draw it out for us.
I didn't.
Well, some of them are listening on the podcast. They don't know yet.
I'm going to ride, all right?
Okay,
I'm going to ride with
all right.
you, and I'm going to say the Packers, we will win against Chicago.
Okay, all right.
Week 1.
So we've got back-to-back away games to start the season. Don't get our home opener until the third week against New Orleans. Atlanta, it's tough because in my mind, I do not expect this team to win like every game it plays. But we were talking about how, everybody in the North's playing the South. So a lot of it has to do with how good those teams are and can we beat them. I think a lot of the NFC North teams are going to have a lot of success against these NFC South teams. Atlanta, week 2, all right? So I am going to probably cause some consternation. I think the week 1 problems that the Packers usually have, they're going to be up for the Bears. They're going to get so up for the Bears, they're going to beat the Bears, and then they're going to fall flat on their face when they travel to Atlanta. They're going to come through Tennessee. They're going to fly over Tennessee, and they're going to lay an egg in Atlanta. There's got to be one of those games every year where you should beat this team, but you don't. I hate to say it. I'm throwing an X on that one, and I know that likelihood of that is so just gritting against me, but I also know, philosophically, I almost feel like I should be calling, if I'm a betting man, I should be calling a split for the South teams. But I'm just going to say they have an emotional roller coaster, and we haven't at times traveled well, although it's not far. But I got us going down to Atlanta by 1/2 of 1 point.
Okay. By 1/2 of 1 point.
Yeah, if that's possible. But I hate to even say that.
Okay, so I have not been following them preseason. I don't know what they've got going on down there
Atlanta?
in Atlanta, but I don't like them.
I don't like them.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I don't like the Falcons.
See, that's the
so
part. Is I don't think I like them either.
I don't like them, and just for that, I'm gonna go with that. We're gonna pick up that road win too.
Okay, so now we diverge. So now it gets difficult. And boy, did I unzip my fly on picking Atlanta.
I don't know. You might regret that.
I might very well. God, I don't even know how yet. Hey, we have to decide what the punishment is before the game, okay?
Sure.
Deal? Because that would be so unfair. If, we get to week 2 and we beat Atlanta and you're like, oh, yeah, and by the way, you have to live like a monk and eat, worms for 10 days.
You already do that.
Well, I kind of do.
That would be punishment for me.
Well, yeah. I mean, you are a meat eater, right? So.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Mine would be cheese.
Cheese? All right. Well, you're not going to get any pushback from Packer Nation on that particular one. Yeah. All right, New Orleans, home opener. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm just going to try to, there's no discussion. We have to win that game because I just called a loss against Atlanta.
Right.
If I'm right and this is our lay an egg game, then I think we definitely bounce back against New Orleans.
I feel like I'm getting a little too over confident, zealous.
Hey, Justin.
If I pick
Jameis Winston laid a spank down on us a
as
couple years ago.
3-0 to start. I just don't. But what it's not Jameis though. If it was
it's not Jameis. But there's no Drew Brees.
Let me tell you
there's
something.
no
If
Sean Payton.
If it was Jameis, I would be like, we're going down. Because I love Jameis Winston.
Why?
But it's, what, Carr? Derek Carr?
Yeah. You don't seem like overly excited about that.
Did you see that?
Well, they offloaded Derek Carr, so yeah.
Easy.
And I mean, the Raiders had weapons too. Like, you have Devontae Adams, the best receiver in the league.
I'm sorry, no.
All right, this is the one. So these are the ones. All right, now Detroit. And again, I guess I can do, now that we're past Chicago, I can do more sort of game prediction talk because, we'll do more about that when we get to that game. But Detroit at home with Rashawn Gary and Lucas Van Ness and Jaden Reed with, 3 games under their belt. I'm going to pick this one knowing exactly what I'm going to pick on the next one. That's the Packers win at home.
Okay. And just for the hell of it, I'm going to fade you. And I'm going to say that we're going to lose that game.
All right. Not afraid to put it out there, girl.
Sorry, Packer Nation. Yeah, I like the Lions. I think they're frisky.
They're frisky?
They're really frisky and greedy.
They are kind of. They are coming to bite kneecaps.
Yeah.
We know that much. All right, Las Vegas. Jimmy Garoppolo, for crying out loud. If Jimmy Garoppolo plays this game, I think it's a different story.
Right.
I'm going to assume he will. It's early in the season. But I just don't. They got a great running game. And they did replace who did they bring? They didn't bring David Njoku, did they? Who did they bring? They brought in somebody that's not named Waller, so it's not really moving the needle for me.
Okay.
Okay, so this is week 5. It's right before the bye.
Mm-hmm.
A very young team. I think they're going to lose focus because they're ready to take a little break at this point, even though it's early, though. So should I say that or not? I'm going to say it. The Packers traveling and ready for... They start to pack their bags early. I've got that. Now I've got 2 losses on the board already.
Right.
But I'm going to say loss. I don't think that's a good team. I think it'll be one of those that the Packers found a way to lose, not the Las Vegas Raiders found a way to win.
Right. I'll second that.
Okay, all right. Kind of surprised me on that one. I thought you'd take a chance to...
No, I mean, just because I don't know. I mean, Jimmy G is just Jimmy G, and he just finds ways to win. He just finds them.
When Shanahan's his coach... Now he's got...
Sure, but I mean, come on. Listen. The Raiders with Jimmy are going to be... they're questionable for me. I don't know. I don't know what to expect out of them.
Okay, so we are definitely not going to lose week 6. So I'll just fill that in for both of us.
Okay.
At Denver. That's another one. Sean Payton there. Russell Wilson is a good quarterback and had a horrible season. Is he no longer a good quarterback? I don't know what their offensive line situation is too much. That would be, and their running game situation would be really of concern to me. Peyton is in there potentially kind of weeding things out. And you and I talked about this when they hired him because you're like, why would they hire why would Sean Payton go to the Broncos? And I said, I believe this, it's for the challenge. Like, he looked at that team and he's like, if they win, it's because of me. Sure. It's not because Russell Wilson was there last year and he was awful.
Right.
A guy who had been in the MVP conversation multiple times.
Yes.
And now, if I'm Sean Payton, that's exactly the team that I want. These are the Bad News Bears. I'm going to pick this team up. I'm going to straighten them up. I'm going to have all the power. I think that gives him leverage, too, to get the decisions made that he wants. Okay, so we are coming off our bye week. Oh, my word. I am thinking from a mile-high perspective that these guys, they're going to have to still be training, but are they going to be a little bit out of shape and then come to Denver at altitude and have to play the Denver Broncos? That's probably as much of a concern as I have about the team as I do about the team itself. Mm-hmm. And we've had our issues with Denver in the past. I don't see that team really matching up with us well. But I'm going to put the Sean Payton and the altitude factor in and say we find a way again. And that may be Jordan Love just has a really lackluster day, has a sort of I look like I'm a first-year starter day, and Justin Wilson, Wilson, who's been around forever, just takes advantage of it offensively. So there we go. I got another loss.
I got a different take.
Okay.
I don't think Russell Wilson is repairable.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't think
Fair.
that he's the guy he used to be.
Not even Sean Payton can fix you.
No,
it's time to hang it up, bro.
No, and I'll tell you why. Because this week Sean Payton came out and said, if I can remember the quote, "Hey Russell, stop going around and kissing the fucking babies. All right, you're not running for politics. You're not running for office. Okay." Payton is frustrated with him. He's fed up with him. Already.
It does seem like a real storyline.
But here's the thing. Wilson is not, what that tells me is that he's not moldable. Like, if Peyton feels like Russ has this facade that he's putting on, you know, this, if he's so just into his image and what people think of him, like,
kissing babies comment is pretty good. It's pretty good.
It is, but if your head coach is already feeling like you're full of yourself, that to me does not signal somebody who's willing to be shaped and molded. Mm-hmm. And that's what he needs.
Yeah. He apparently does. Yeah. And I, you know, for me, if Russell Wilson wanted to fix himself, he could. But what you're saying is it's an attitude problem.
I think it's an attitude problem.
Sure. And like, this is Sean M and effing Payton. And Drew Brees, as one of the best quarterbacks that's ever been. I mean, this guy was right up there. Drew Brees in his peak was very, very good.
Right.
Packers fans, Wisconsinites, we all want to love Russell Wilson because he played for the Badgers. Drew Brees played for Purdue. And I will never forget him laying a drubbing on the Badgers and just throwing all over us. And Peyton could handle him, could shape him, could mold him.
Yeah.
Peyton just got his job because he was the savior of this place. He is not going to have qualm one about offloading Russell Wilson, dumping his huge contract. They've already had to pay the price of whatever draft picks they gave up.
Yeah.
And he will not have quality. If it's not going to work, Sean Payton is going to say, this is not going to work, and I will find a quarterback that will. And he will do it. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't do it. I don't want him to. Yeah. I don't want him to do the day. I don't want Russell Wilson to fix himself the day that we play him.
Sure.
And I don't want Sean Payton to be successful either the day we play him. But I do have respect for him as a coach. There were some, obviously the storylines to me, it's like water under the bridge by this point. But
sure.
All right, so
I'm just saying if by week 7 Russ is still playing for Denver,
hot take that. Just say it. By week 7.
By week 7, if Peyton hasn't just axed his ass,
yeah.
I don't know who their backup is. I don't really care about Denver at all.
Yeah.
But I say that we're going to pick up that win on the road.
Yeah, okay.
Because of that.
So now we diverge again.
I don't think we're going to see Wilson improve this year.
Okay. Minnesota at home. If Jordan Love is playing relatively good football with this offensive line, they do have Danielle Hunter still there. They are an aging defense with some good players. But I think we beat Minnesota at home is just, to me, we have to win that game.
Right.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
You reached for the red.
I reached for the red. I'm sorry. It's Kirk Cousins at noon.
It is Kirk
Cousins
at noon.
If it was Kirk Cousins at 8, I would definitely pick the green. But
so it's the Kirk Cousins that's not a fraud because he's playing at noon?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, LA Rams. Now, this is another AFC team. Good defense. Pretty good quarterback. Wasn't able to get it done in the playoffs, if I'm remembering right. And this is at home. And let's see when we've got. This is a noon game again.
Okay.
And this is beginning of November, so the weather's going to be beautiful.
But the Rams fell apart last year.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the Rams fell apart. No, that's a win. All right, Pittsburgh. Your family's team.
My team. Oh. My team.
Liar.
Sorry.
We need persuasiveness from Packer Nation right now.
I'm going to give you a whole lot of reasons to hate me this season. I just have a feeling.
Okay, so that means I get to pick a loss or a win because I'm going to guess what you're picking. And we're going to kick this. This is at Pittsburgh, too.
Yeah, I know.
Are we going to be at Pittsburgh?
We're going to try.
We're going to try.
We're going to try.
I'm going Green Bay all the way.
Okay.
And Pittsburgh in a bit of a transition from years past. Obviously, the Roethlisberger one being the biggest.
Right.
And, of course, Antonio Brown, all that kind of stuff. That's over now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that era has ended.
Do you have the same offensive coordinator?
Yes.
So
yes.
Feel free to pick up that green marker.
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm sorry.
Because your family would disown you?
No, because I believe that the Steelers will win this game. Listen, that division, the AFC North, is anybody's game. It's kind of, they're all just going to tear each other to pieces. Absolutely tear each other to pieces.
Yeah, NFC North might be doing the same thing on a little lower level.
They're going to be looking for a win, I think. I haven't looked at their schedule, to be honest. I've been spending more time with the Packers the last few weeks than I have the Steelers. But Pickett looks good. He looked good preseason, and
he looked solid last year. I mean, with some ups and downs, in my opinion.
They won't. I don't think they'll win their division, but
wild card.
They will all. I don't even think they'll wild card this year, but they will absolutely tear each other apart in that division.
They're going to tear us apart, you're thinking?
I think so, because I think that they're going to have
be a
a tough
last-second
time.
field goal. Come on.
Maybe, but a win is a win, you know? I may not take the points on that one, but yeah, I believe that they will struggle against the Ravens and the Browns and the Bengals, and they'll be looking for a win where they can get it. Yeah, they're going to be hungry.
And this is going to be, week 10 is when, if we don't turn a corner, you're too far from tanking and trying to get a draft pick, which I will never talk about on this show, by the way. I refuse it. I will not think those thoughts.
Sure.
But, I would be surprised if Pittsburgh as an organization, and maybe the fans too, aren't the same way. It's like, are you kidding me? We will not be thinking about draft picks. We will be thinking about winning games, because that kind of, in my mind, that mentality trickles down, and that's why the Detroit Lions are in the place they are. Mm-hmm. Regardless of how many 1 to 5 draft picks you have, it's the culture. And that's the other thing that I think, if I'm a Bears fan, I think if I'm reading the tea leaves of the Bears fans, that I think that's part of what they believe is happening, is a culture change unto which they saw in Detroit.
Sure.
And if you can do that, and now you don't have Aaron Rodgers in your division, that sounds like an open door to me. I couldn't sit and argue against it. I don't know if that's really what's going on or not. Anyway, LA Chargers. Another noon. So, coming back to Lambeau, and it's like you say, who's going to play these games has so much to do with it, but this is the part where, you get into double-digit weeks, and it's and this is a very young team. Number one, the grind, going from 12 games, and then now you're doing 18 weeks, 17 games. It's incredible. I can't imagine what their bodies must go through. We've seen this multiple times with rookies. I would say Romeo Dobbs last year. He got injured, and he's like, I never could get right again. And he faded. Well, we are loaded with rookies. This one's at home, and this is the one where I mentioned they do have a Bosa who's not holding out. Herbert he's a physical specimen, and he hasn't, taken them where they feel like they needed to be, but I don't know. Picked us to win at, I think this is a win. I think we beat the Chargers.
Okay.
In my mind, to some extent, your argument from the last game, the Pittsburgh game, could apply, where the Chargers, where they're at in their division, they might be fighting for their life by week 11. But I'm going to put a win for that one.
Okay. This could be a pretty even matchup in my head.
Yeah, if you're betting, that might be when you look at the line and lean toward the home team.
100%. Yeah. 100%. If it's a lot of points, I'm not taking it, but I think it could come down to maybe a field goal. So I'm going to say that we will lose that game this season.
Now I'm looking at week 12, and according to this, it is Thursday at 11 a.m. So that must be Thanksgiving.
Fantastic.
I didn't look at that, and I don't honestly remember it being discussed when it came out. Okay, so this has been a while. This used to be the Thanksgiving tradition. And somehow overlooking that, I am now so excited about that game. It's at Detroit, unfortunately. It'd been better if it was at Lambeau.
Okay.
This is the one that I said I know how I have to go with this one, because I've kind of painted myself into that corner.
Uh-huh.
You want to win your home games against your division rivals. Then you put yourself in a position to, you've won 4 games. You pick off a couple other ones there, and then you try to win your road games and try not to worry so much about your opposite conference games. But I've got a hunch we're going to play well on that game. But, okay, so you're coming off Sunday. You got a short week. Packers lose to the Detroit Lions at what is not the Silverdome. Did you ever see that Silverdome? They the Silverdome is where they used to play.
Okay.
When Barry Sanders, who you've heard of.
Yeah.
And they demoed it.
Okay.
And the demo just like utterly failed. Like apparently they just tried to blow that thing up. Like they couldn't even demo the building right. It was just denied. And you could see it just like pop, 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 pop all the way around.
And it still stood.
And it's still standing there. It's like, nah, you guys are the Lions. But I say that, and I just gave them a win against the Packers.
That's Thanksgiving. Let's get in the holiday spirit, shall we? I'm going to go with a win.
Uh-oh.
We're going to go into Detroit and stomp them.
Stomp them. All right.
Stomp them.
All right.
And then I'm going to have some turkey.
All right.
It's going to be great. No. We don't turducken.
All right. Kansas City.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to take this green marker, and I'm going to circle that one.
Yeah.
Because this game is, the Jordan Love revenge game. If he's going to have a good game, if he has a second opportunity, this is the second time he's started against them, and his start against them was his first start ever. It's going to be a different ball game. He's going to have some guys around him. He's got some weapons. He's got a lot of speed. This is one of the things in the North when we get to that that I don't think many teams in the NFC North are ready for how fast the Packers are right now. They are just a very, very fast team. But Kansas City has Patrick Mahomes. Now you're assuming Kelsey is healthy, Chris Jones is back on board, and this would be a tough one for me. It's at home, and all I can say in my defense is I am a huge Andy Reid fan who was with the Packers, very, very instrumental in Brett Favre being good. And I'm going to say we drop one at home. I've been leaning toward the away games. Hedging my bet the whole time. Mm-hmm. I have a strategy here.
You do?
No, I don't.
I'm just going
I'm just
on
picking
vibes.
them. Yeah, I'm just picking them like I see them.
Going on vibes.
So what do you think on Kansas City?
I think it's Patrick Mahomes. Yes. I mean, come on.
Now, if Pete Prisco's right, then Jordan Love is going to be just like slinging it too that night. It's
not against Pat.
He doesn't play against Pat.
No,
but
I know
that
he doesn't,
defense with Chris Jones is a beast.
I don't know.
He does deserve to get paid.
I watched Quarterback on Netflix.
I did too, and I was like,
I'm all in for Patrick Mahomes right
now. Yeah, Mahomes I was okay with, but like everybody else, I was like Kirk Cousins. You really think I'm going to sit down and wasn't there a whole episode on Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, I like Kirk Cousins.
Not gonna watch it.
I like him. I don't like the Vikings, but
yeah, I'm not even clicking on the preview. Not even gonna do it unless I knew that there was something on there that would give me some fodder against him and the Minnesota Vikings for that matter.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's tough. He's just a nice guy.
He is, but he's nice in such a overly too nice way. He's kissing too many babies.
No. Don't even compare him to Russell Wilson. No, absolutely not.
He's kissing too many babies. Oh, no, he's not politicizing, but...
His wife dresses him.
Now I like him even less.
It's endearing.
It's endearing. You're like, oh, that's so cute.
He said, I don't even pay attention to what I wear. My wife lays out my clothes every day, and I just put them on.
And he just
I'm too focused on football. That's a football guy.
Okay, so at some point during Kirk Cousins' career, he walked into the facility in a purple and gold onesie.
Yes,
and he didn't He's like, what the? No, I mean, he didn't even, his wife just lays crap out for his mom. It is his mom, probably.
No, it's his woman.
Calls his mom and
his woman.
His woman?
His woman dresses him and is this is going to be a cute outfit.
That is a whole podcast in and of itself. The Kirk Cousins quirkiness.
It's Patagonia. Podcast. It's not Kohl's, though.
Okay.
We'll see. He might have a Kohl's sponsorship this year.
It should be Kohl's.
Should be Kohl's.
Kohl's would be like, yeah, I got some words for you. All right, Monday night game. Monday Night Football, which is always fun.
Yeah.
Actually, it hasn't been as fun of late. I think, they've struggled to get a good group in the booth, but I don't know who they've got this year, but that will be critical to see who they bring in.
Monday and Thursday were rough last year.
Yeah.
Thursdays in particular were really rough to watch.
I don't think I watched
most primetime games were rough last year.
Okay, at the Giants, I got to win.
Okay.
That's another away win.
So do I.
Against the team that we're gonna get revenge for what happened in the UK last year that I was so upset about. For years we held off going, and then we finally go and we lay an egg. And I wanted to go to that. I was trying for years to find a way to get to that game, and I'm so glad I didn't.
Yeah. They just paid Daniel Jones.
Mm-hmm. I almost said Mac Jones.
Gross.
They paid him and then they extended him too. Like they restructured it just this week. So he's happy. He's a happy camper.
But by week 14, I think they fell apart.
Okay.
They did that last year. I mean, they had a great start to the season last year, 8-0, I think, or something like that, and then they just absolutely choked.
Start the tank. We can start the tank.
Yeah, but they can't finish. So we're going to go on the road and win that.
Oh, I got no problem with that. Tampa Bay, Sunday noon game. Middle of December, Tampa Bay having to travel to Lambeau Field.
Yeah.
And Tampa Bay without Tom Brady or Gronk or Brown or any of those guys.
With Mayfield.
Yeah, that has me reaching for the green marker really, really fast. Yeah. I just don't think they have. I don't know if they have a plan at this point. If that's your plan, or are they maybe bringing him in thinking it's going to be rough, but being rough will give us a better chance to right the ship? I don't know. I say right the ship for Tampa Bay. That was pretty good.
I mean, they said that he looked good in preseason, but
yeah.
Is Evans holding out?
I haven't heard anything about Evans if he is.
Okay. I'm gonna go with a win.
Okay.
We're gonna win that one. It's Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay. Okay, now it gets real. So we have to travel into Carolina, and then we close out the season week 17 and 18 against Minnesota, Chicago, respectively. That really is, those last two games in the NFC North. And every team in the league, week 18 plays a division rival. That's been a rule since, I don't know, for 10 years or so, 10 years, I guess.
Yeah.
But we've got back-to-back. So Carolina at Carolina. And again, so much is going to come down to, like, every team may, so many teams in the North might beat teams in the South. It's just not a good division. So I've got us... they got a brand new quarterback down there, first rounder. But I picked up the wrong. I was like flashing. You were like looking at me like I picked up the wrong.
I couldn't
folks,
believe you
in case
picked up
you're
that
listening
marker.
on the podcast and can't watch, I'm putting it in the right. I was more worried about the column at that point because of the
easy green.
Yeah, I do not see anything that team has from the coaching staff, the structure of the organization on down. They just have proven nothing for so long. If they don't have Julius Peppers, I don't know what they do have.
All right.
All right, so that was a
them
quick
and
one.
Arizona in the same category. They're just
Arizona. And remember, what was it last year? Arizona came out with a big win. Who'd they beat? And everybody was like, "Oh, J.J. Watt, man, Arizona's for real." That was legit.
early on.
It was the reverse of the. It was the same thing the Bears did. Bears came out and beat the 49ers in the rain week 1. And Fields is sliding in the rain, which did look fun. I loved doing that when I was playing.
I do remember that game.
Yeah. And then they won 2 more. All right. At Carolina, I think that if we lose that one, we're in major trouble. At Minnesota. And I think one of two things is happening week 17 at Minnesota. Minnesota is either playing for a playoff, which they have not clinched. I mean, they won 13 games. Like they won handily last year. I don't think that's the case this year. So they're either playing for their playoff lives, or they have tanked so bad that they're playing to try to knock the Green Bay Packers out of potential playoff contention with a potential loss against the Chicago Bears after that.
Sure.
That's my guess on that. So I'm going to say the Minnesota Vikings find a way. Packers miss 2 field goals, and we lose by 3 points.
What time is this game? Oh. It's
I didn't even
time Kirk Cousins. You know my pick.
Factor the primetime Kirk Cousins into it. Oh, you almost picked the wrong one, too.
No way.
Yeah, it's primetime, yeah.
It's primetime.
It's not...
There's no way. We're going into Minnesota, and we're killing them, all right? It's just not, no way. No way.
All right, so here comes we're circled full circle now. Mm-hmm. Week 18, and what I'm trying to parse out in my mind is how are these two teams different? You can't know anything about the injuries. You can't guess anything about that, but it's a huge factor. The Packers with the early bye, I think at this point, and all these young players, I think could be a really hurting unit at this point. I think not just physically, but emotionally. I am going to say the Packers. I'm going to say Jordan Love is going to own the Chicago Bears for the 2023 season. And I'm going to put a win on that one. I think that could be, you're going against a veteran team now in the Bears, and you're going against a team that has a quarterback that's done it for a long time. Once again, though, depending on who's healthy, I don't think the Bears are ready for the speed that the Green Bay Packers are going to put out on the table. It's really tough. I know the Bears are happy with their cornerback draft pick, their defensive backfield in general, but it is really tough to be good like 3 deep in the NFL because those are premier positions. You can't pay for 3 cornerbacks that are shutdown corner. Can't happen. You don't have enough cap space, or you're going to suck elsewhere. We've got the speed. I'm going to assume everybody's there. Don't know what condition they're in, but I'm going to assume everybody's there. It's very difficult to go 3 deep, but the Packers can do it. We've got Ja, who is a shutdown corner, and he got paid. We got Rasul Douglas, who was against the ropes, couldn't find a job in the league, and he is really, really good on the perimeter. Wasn't as good last year. We played him a lot in the slot, and he's already paid. We got Eric Stokes, who's on a rookie contract. He's going to get a lot of rest. He may not play in the game against the Bears, their first game against the Bears, right, but danged if he won't in the next one. And he is a 4.3 speed, 6-foot guy, around 200 pounds. He's a prototypical shutdown cornerback. He had an incredible rookie season, did not look nearly as good last year. So which Eric Stokes we get, I think, has a big thing to do with it. But even if we get a bad Eric Stokes or a not as good Eric Stokes who's very talented, we've still got Carrington Valentine, who absolutely was he a 5th? He's 7th round draft choice, if I'm not mistaken. And he just is legit. I mean, he just is legit. And he's a guy that the Packers now are trying to figure out, how do we get this kid on the field? I think he's the answer to the safety problem, or at least part of it. And I think they should explore that. I would rather not have Rasul Douglas back there. I'd rather have the kid who's hungry for a job in the league, most people probably would have seen him as potentially undrafted or not making a team because of his draft status. His draft status did nothing for Carrington Valentine during training camp. And he came out and forced the coach to say in front of everyone, again, coach speak, they're gonna keep it close to the vest. Yeah. And the coach just had to say, yeah, we really need to find ways to get that kid on the field.
Yeah.
So I've got a win for Green Bay, and that's my reasoning. I do think the caveat to me is, how does this team handle being as young? How do they look in a Week 18 matchup against the Bears?
Right.
When it could really, really matter. To either team. This could matter to both teams. This could be playoffs in, playoffs out.
Yeah.
Winner take all.
Yeah. I want to believe that Rodgers passed the keys to the city of Chicago on.
Keys to the city of Chicago. Is there a but coming?
But.
Well, you said you weren't sold yet.
I'm not sold yet.
But you need to see the future. By now, you're like, oh my gosh, was I wrong? And you're getting on this podcast. You're going, I'm so sorry. I was so wrong.
Yeah, you might hear that from me.
We're going to be cutting that up.
You might hear that from me. And that's fine. I'll admit it. I'll admit it if I'm wrong. I would love to be wrong. But I do have the same concerns that you do, which is this young roster. Are they going to be worn out by the end of the season? And
a significant factor, I think.
Fields has been improving in his passing. Mm-hmm. Is this season? Is he going to get to the end of the season?
Some will say improving in his passing. What did he have in that first preseason game? It was like 200 yards and 2 touchdowns on 4 passes, and the ball flew like 7 yards total.
Some people are saying.
Well, I mean, DJ Moore on a bubble screen is a dangerous man. I mean,
right.
He's a legit. They've got a legit number 1 for him.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things we'll talk about, I think, when we predict this particular first season opener game. Is neither of these quarterbacks has excuses either.
Right.
You say, Fields has been around, Love has been around. Mm-hmm. Both of them are coming in. Both of them are playing for that big quarterback money, and neither one of them have excuses.
By week 18, has Fields gotten enough reps in passing that he is feeling more confident? Has he grown? Is this going to be a growth year for him? I know a lot of Packers fans are going to be really mad about that, but
it's not going to happen, so we don't have to worry about
it. Sure. I'm going to say I'm going to fade you on this one, and I'm going to say that. If this happens, this will be a really, really, really hard loss.
Oh yes, it will.
I mean, at home. I mean, this will be like
at home.
Fire up the torches, we're burned down.
Yeah, some jerseys get burned in effigy at that point. Yeah.
And I hope I'm wrong. I'm gonna just say I hope I'm wrong, but I just have a feeling. I have a feeling that this is the way it's gonna go.
Okay.
It's my prediction.
I'll remember that.
It's my prediction. It's not your prediction. It's not your prediction. It's my prediction.
I get to have my prediction.
I get to have my prediction.
We will be back. Let's break down this game. Let's get into it deep. All right?
Okay.
Let's break down the Chicago Bears. Let's break down the Packers, and let's make our predictions of how this game is going to come out. All right? We'll be back in just a moment, guys. Stay tuned. All right, so Sunday's a big day. Thursday, tomorrow we get to start watching football, but for Packers fans, it's a little different. Sunday is a totally different ball game, and I can't honestly, I was commenting on the live show this morning, I think it was, that a lot of times the kickoff game, the Thursday game, it's a Super Bowl rematch, quote unquote, which means nothing. It's an AFC NFC game to start the season, which matters less anyway. That stuff circles around later. But this year, it's AFC, NFC, but it is a very interesting game. Like, this has become a very interesting game. We just learned Kelsey is out, is what we're hearing, correct? Or is it?
I don't know that it's established yet.
I don't see him playing. Yeah, and probably Friday they'll make that official, but who knows? Anyway, that's an interesting game, especially as a Packer fan. I want to see if these Detroit Lions, I'd like to see them get beat, but I wouldn't be surprised if they don't fight in this game. Same thing with the Packers season opener. I mean, it just does not get, and you can't script up better. And I believe the Packers have opened the season against the Bears like 27 times. We are looking at, I've got the numbers up here. This is a team that has played, 207 games against each other. I got the good fortune of being there when the Packers finally went ahead in this series because the Bears had been dominant in the 80s, right? Packers up 105-95 with 6 ties in this. And I believe Packers-Bears was Vince Lombardi's first game. The first game ever at Lambeau Field was Packers-Bears. And I believe Matt LaFleur's also first game ever was Packers-Bears. And guess whose first game as the full-time starter of the Green Bay Packers Jordan Love has to take on? Chicago Bears.
Right.
It gives me chills just from a historical NFL standpoint that we are at this point in history. And it's fraught with questions, as you highlighted. It is, we don't know. Jordan Love is not a known commodity. Anyone that tries to convince me that he is, I don't think how can you know that? You can't. What you are is a believer, which I am too. I believe in this team. But I've seen a lot out of Jordan Love. I mentioned a little bit earlier, but watching the tape, the things that I think he's done a fantastic job with, his footwork I think has drastically improved. And I'm not the only one that is noting, and it is worth noting in a Matt LaFleur, Shanahan-style offense, that he is going through his progressions very fast and making very good decisions. He's got the athleticism. He's no Justin Fields. He runs a tenth to probably slower. But this is exactly my argument against Justin Fields, is if you're a quarterback in the league, what your main duty is to distribute the ball to wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends, to the skill players on your team. Now, he ran for over 1,000 yards last year. I watched him run all over us. He is an amazing runner, but that's where I'm not quite sold on Fields yet either, partly because, it's rare for a quarterback there's some statistical graphs, Peter Bukowski from Locked On laid this one out. He's kind of got a little bit of a feud going with some Bears fans, but it's a fact. It's rare that, especially running quarterbacks who have some of the problems that he's had in the passing game, can recover that. Mm-hmm. Now, the difference to me, and you can comment on this in your prediction, Difference to me is they gave him DJ Moore, and I think they were right to just promote within with their running back. I think Montgomery was good, and if the culture is changing, okay, I think there's a chance because Green Bay, there is no Aaron Rodgers in this division now. So, but the big deal to me is Justin Fields has to show that he can make great decisions, he can throw on the run, and when the play breaks down, he can get to a DJ Moore, which he's already shown some chemistry with, and that's a dangerous man. There's a reason they paid him, 3 years, 68.
Right.
Mainly because the Bears had it. But now Jordan Love, on the other hand, his fundamentals impress me more. His mechanics impress me more. He's got enough athleticism to, when he sees man singled up on the edges, and he sees the defenders turn their backs, and he sees an opening, he knows he can get the first down. He did it in the preseason, and there's very little difference between that, to me, in the preseason than in the regular season. You either have the opening to go for it, and you have the athleticism to get it, and you read it right, or you don't.
Right.
Now, the Bears, I'm expecting to throw the kitchen sink. That's one thing I think. I'm not sold on the Bears' defense, and I don't think they're, again, ready for our speed. We don't know if you don't have Romeo Doubs and you don't have Christian Watson in particular, that changes that dramatically. And the Bears, which is typical in training camp, and I'm not sure what the end of training camp was, but to a great extent, they were getting the best of the offense. Fields had to field those questions. Guess what? So did Jordan Love early in training camp. This is typical. It's typical. So I don't think we can read too much into that. Jordan Love, for me, though, the things that I saw, and I'm just going to be as specific as I can, there was only one instance, so I don't expect it to be a problem, but where he ran into trouble. So he was perfectly fine in the pocket, and he moved his body into harm's way rather than just relax and stay put and continue to go through your reads. The concern I have with that is this is the preseason. The bullets are not flying in the preseason, and I guarantee you the bullets are going to be flying on Sunday. So I am going to, and this goes to your very legitimate point, and many in Packer Nation realize this, is, he still has a lot to prove. He's got to prove it on the field. And my hope and my belief, and I do believe this about Love, he may not hit the ground running in this game. If he does get if they get behind the sticks, we decide not to lean on the running game for whatever reason. But I want to see him progress through the season because he's going to see a lot. And the other thing I think he has going for him, and I don't know who could argue that Fields has this. Number one, Fields got thrown in the fire immediately. He's a first-round pick. They gave up draft capital for him, if I remember right. And number two, Eberflus, a defensive mind, and I think his defenses play as sound as anyone. I wish our defense played as sound as his do. I don't know the whole story this year because we haven't seen him play yet. And they've had some turnover. But one thing, if you're talking about, the quarterback position for both teams, I think one of my biggest hopes in this and beliefs is, Matt LaFleur was the offensive coordinator, or was a quarterback's coach with Matt Ryan when he won the MVP.
Right.
It perhaps had more to do with it than the head coach did at the time. So he's got an offensive-minded guy who schemed up in the Schottenheimer system and trained him that way from day one. He also has Aaron Rodgers, who did not necessarily run that scheme because Aaron Rodgers can do pre-snap reads like no one else can, and a lot of times he got us into better situations, sometimes not so much. But he's still, Jordan Love is still learning from him. And I watched, and you can hear J.T. O'Sullivan talk about this. There are times, and there's so much about the way that Jordan Love approaches the pocket when the game is live that looks like Aaron Rodgers. Now, again, nobody mistake me that I'm saying he's Aaron Rodgers or he's the second coming of Aaron Rodgers. He's Jordan Love. Rodgers said he just needs to be himself. I completely agree. But what that shows you is the kid was listening and taking notes and practicing what he learned from Aaron Rodgers as well. Finally, Tom Clements, I don't think it's enough credit in this. We brought Tom Clements back, who was one of Aaron Rodgers' best buddies. And if you ask Aaron Rodgers who probably was most instrumental in his success, aside from his own practice, his own study habits, his own keeping his body in shape, he would say Tom Clements very possibly. I would hope he'd give some credit to Mike McCarthy from early on, but it's Tom Clements, and those guys have all been with Jordan Love. And I believe in my heart that Clements came back partly because he knew he had this young kid, and he just loves developing talented quarterbacks. So, you look at the talent level, I don't know, they're probably about the same. They both have arm talent. The deep ball with Justin Fields concerns me, but so does the deep ball with Love to some extent. I think he answered some of those questions, but again, the bullets would be flying. The athleticism, Fields for sure. He's faster.
Yeah.
Jordan Love has enough. So which is most important? And the Bears, we talked about what I agree with in their organization and what seems to be their philosophy. Not that I really know, but they seem to be believing in the run game. So they've leaned on that. Now they brought in a true number one wide receiver, but the Packers, on the other hand, are leaning heavily into the pass game, and that really makes puts your quarterback in the spotlight. So I think, this game coming up, I'm fighting against the notion that Green Bay plays so badly in week 1. I am taking that 100% off the table, and I'm just going to go by the players that we have, and I'm going to assume Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson, that's just a cautionary thing. They've got plenty of days if it's just a minimal tweak in a hammy that doesn't feel right. I don't think the Packers lean on the run in the way that most of Packer Nation probably does. We've got Aaron Jones for crying out loud. We got A.J. Dillon for crying out loud. But both of those guys can catch the ball. And what do you think the Bears are stacking the box for against Jordan Love, who's making his first start as the full-time starter? I've got to feel like they're going to stack the box and try to eliminate the run and put this game on Jordan Love's shoulders. Mm-hmm. I don't think Matt LaFleur has any qualms about the way he talks about his Love's command of the playbook, his command of the huddle, and the way the players have rallied around him and talk about his leadership. You go into this game, he does not have to remember the entire offense. All he has to remember is the part that they put in place that they thought would beat the Bears. If I'm Matt LaFleur right now, I am game planning for heavy boxes, which is going to be, so what happens now, you're bringing a safety down into the box. So now you go from open middle, now your tracks are wide open, and you got a Christian Watson who runs a 4.3 and is like 6 foot, over 6 foot. I'm looking for a shot play. I'm looking for them to motion Aaron Jones out a lot, coming out of maybe a 21 personnel, a two tailback look, and then motion guys out and let Jordan Love do his thing. Here's my last concern about Jordan Love. It seemed like, and this is preseason, but it seemed like he needed to warm up to dial it in. Mm-hmm. And that concerns me. Brett Favre used to do this all the time, but he was Brett Favre. Jordan Love is Jordan Love. That's a whole different story. He needs to be accurate from the beginning. And I think the Packers, if they are going to go that route and then hopefully lean on the run to maybe, grind out the game if they need to, and then if Justin Fields is scoring touchdowns on the ground, you just match those. You got to get out to an early lead to do that potentially. Or you end up forcing the ball into Love's hands then because you got to catch back up. But I think it might go a little differently than we expect. I'm going to call a play action pass from the first play in the game, on first offensive play from the Green Bay Packers. And I think the Bears, much like the Packers defense, we go through training camp last year and on paper they look like they could be really good. And we just didn't perform that well. We don't tend to perform really well in week 1. But I think this defense right now after what happened last year is dialed in. I think they are focused. And I think not only are the Bears not going to be quite ready for the speed that the Packers have on offense, but the speed we have at edge rusher is phenomenal. When you have two guys at 275 pounds that run in the 4.5s, and you've got a rookie right tackle, I'm licking my chops if I'm Joe Barry at this point. So hopefully Rashawn Gary does play, and we don't know how many snaps he's going to get, but I expect Fields to really at times be running for his life. And that includes, I didn't think Wright was the right pick for them. I thought it was the right position, but I didn't think he was the right guy. I might be wrong about that, though. The guy is a mauler, and they do like to run the ball, and Fields can kill you that way. But I don't think him as a rookie, his first game, is ready for a Rashawn Gary or even potentially a Lucas Van Ness at this point. Preston Smith doesn't get enough, as bad as we are against, we've been historically bad against the run for several years here since LaFleur got in. But Preston Smith doesn't get enough credit for being really, really good at setting the edge. Rashawn Gary is really, really good against the run. Now, looks like no Devondre Campbell. He's an injury that we didn't talk about, and I've heard nothing about, but he was in a walking boot with an ankle injury weeks ago, and when I haven't heard hardly anything. So we're going to be hurting at the off-ball linebacker position, which isn't the worst place to hurt at until your tight end starts doing work on you. But you got Quay Walker, who's long, very fast as an off-ball linebacker in his second year, hoping to make a second-year leap.
Yeah.
So I do think it is, and I've got us, and I normally would split the division rivalry, but I've got us beating these guys. A lot of people think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think that is possible, but I think it's very possible it's a much higher-scoring game than we think. I'm landing somewhere in the middle where I'm expecting DJ Moore to have a touchdown. I'm expecting Fields to have one on the ground. That's kind of my base in that. And then if we're bad against the run, they'll have another ground one. If the other option in the air that I think that they would score would be, and this is why I'm not as concerned about Justin Fields this week, not just because it's the Chicago Bears, our safety position is where I'm really concerned. And the way that we normally run our defense is that two shell. It's very popular for a reason because it's a passing league. It's not a running league anymore. The teams that lean that way it's swinging back around a little, but we don't have two good safeties. Like we don't have two number one safeties, in my opinion, at this point, unless anybody can always, come into their own at any point. If Justin Fields hits a shot play pass out of the gate and gets warmed up to that, which again, I am not going to be a believer that he can. This could be a rough day for the Green Bay Packers, I think, especially at home, hostile environment. If they were to get behind, now you can't just run the ball, right? You can't balance. So now you have to put it on Jordan Love's shoulders. I think that's a problem. But I would give them probably a total of 21 points. And I was going to go over the line first. We didn't do that, but we can do that after.
Okay.
And I'll see where I line up. You did say it, but I'm not remembering what it is off the top of my head. So, I'm going to give them 3 touchdowns and 3 with no field goals. And I'm going to give, I think it's tough because Anders Carlson has been wildly inconsistent. This is an outdoor game on a field that, you step on a divot and you're, as a field goal kicker, it's can be over that fast. Let's see. All right. So Jonesy, I think, scores 1 on the ground. And Jonesy is our smaller back. So I am of the opinion, and I'm not agreed with by everyone out there, that it should not just be A.J. Dillon every time we're in the red zone or on the 2-yard line because he's big. He weighs 250 pounds. There's another skill set that's very important for running backs. You can look for this when you're betting sometimes because a lot of people don't know it, is if you can get skinny on the goal line, you can score touchdowns. And Aaron Jones has more than proved that he can do that. I got 1 for him. I've got Romeo Doubs having 1, again, assuming he's healthy, because I believe the game plan for the Bears is going to be you got to shade a safety and try and stop Christian Watson. You can't let him take the top off. When that happens, then the underneath is going to be open. So I think he's going to get 1. I think Love gets 2 through the air, and if he doesn't throw a pick, so that gives us 21. I just believe the Packers will not attempt a field goal even if it could conceivably win them a game in the particular situation. So we're too close to the goal line, so we choose to go in rather. 26-21. Okay. No, 26-24. Green Bay in this one with 1 missed PAT. So we missed the final PAT, but we still can walk off after it. Okay. And the defense then holds. So finally, once we sorted the board out, right? Yeah. We have, and I am loving this, although it will suck if I'm wrong in so many ways. I got the Packers with 12 wins. You got the Packers with 11 wins in this one, correct? We will next week have a punishment for whoever loses in this little matchup. Okay. And next week, we will also be opening up the airwaves with our new AUA, Ask Us Anything. Yeah. Okay, where we'll handle any question you need to ask to whichever of us you want to ask it. You can ask her what not to bet on. And
Sure.
And if you need that information, or if you want to send us something this week, go ahead. All you have to do is go to Nameless Packers with the S, namelesspackerspod@gmail.com, and we will be checking those on a weekly basis. Later on, we will create a form that goes back to what I was talking about earlier, the prize show that we're going to do at the end of the thing. But we do want interaction. We want to hear from you, the listener. And we want to field those questions, maybe 2 or 3, depending on what. But just make sure they're good, because if they're not, scrap.
Okay. I'll still answer them.
Okay. Let's close with just some discussion about a rookie that we're really excited to see on this team this year.
Sure.
You first.
Me?
Yes. Hey, you said you had one.
I do, and it's not what you're going to pick. I guarantee it after what I just heard. Carlson is my rookie. Bum, bum, bum.
Explain yourself.
He was very inconsistent in the preseason, but look, he had a 57-yard field goal against
When he hits him, he has the leg.
When he hits him, he has the leg.
He has the leg. There's no doubt. You're right.
I'm just gonna.
When he misses them, however.
He shanked one hard. He shanked a couple, but.
And he kicked a kick that died like no ball I've ever seen in my life.
Right. There's plenty of room for improvement with him, but I'm going to be his biggest supporter this season. He has my full support because we need him. We're going to need him.
Absolutely. I do not disagree in one way whatsoever with that. Yeah. The belief part, I struggle with a little bit.
Sure.
But, you're not the only one that has said, listen, he's got Rich Bisaccia out there. This is a new chain for him. So new snapper, new holder, because they got rid of Pat O'Donnell, who was very good at holding the ball. We saw a lot of issues with low snaps and it not being held. We saw issues with his mechanics too that he was aware of. So, if you approach the ball and you don't square up, you just get a little tight and you just hit it too soon. He's always was missing to the right. Mm-hmm. So that is correctable in my mind. I sure hope they do get it corrected. And I just called a missed PAT in the first game. So I feel so bad about that.
Otherwise we're not going to have the season. I think that you and I have predicted at all, because so many of these games, we know season to season, team to team, it comes down to a field goal or an extra point. So
when you have an Aaron Rodgers, that is not as likely. Still can happen, but when you have a Jordan Love, that could very well be much more likely. There's going to be mistakes. Plus, this is the youth of this team factors into it. I love the idea that they get to grow together, but the youth of the team has to factor into that. Jordan Love can throw the right ball, and the receiver makes a back shoulder in when he's supposed to makes the wrong leverage call.
Yeah,
and that's how tight. It's a game of inches in that regard. So definitely the kicking game is going to be important, I think. I think those PATs are no gimmies anymore. He's definitely got the leg, so I agree with you on that. I'm just kind of waiting to see. We've had so many issues with special teams that I hope this is the answer we've been looking for, and I know you guys do too. All right, well, that's going to do it for us today.
Who's your rookie?
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I might have to put one in. I was going to keep it secret.
Why?
Keep it safe. Oh, no, I've got one, definitely. I just forgot. So I'm going to shut the show down.
Oh.
Okay, so this is the rookie we're most excited about.
Yes.
Okay, so it is clear to me, and there's 2 reasons. I'm going to say it again. I've said it before. It's got to be Lucas Van Ness for me.
I knew you were going to say that.
And number 1 reason, yours truly predicted him out loud before we made the pick on draft day. But the other reason is I don't think I've seen a lot out of him, to be honest. I anticipated seeing more out of Lucas Van Ness. That's part of the reason I'm picking him, because I'm excited to see him grow in that way, because there's definitely growth to be made, but he's got all the physical tools. Now with Rashawn Gary playing, he doesn't have to enter the scene as a week 1 starter necessarily. They can go Preston and Rashawn, and then he can kind of talk to the guys. He can get warmed up to it. They can keep his rep count a little lower. But the other side of that, and the reason I'm excited, is he is going to play some football. There's no doubt about that. They didn't draft him for him not to play football. They drafted Rashawn Gary at number 12, and then because we had Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith, we didn't play him that much. We didn't throw him into the fire. And the Packers basically did a mea culpa on that. They said, we kind of regret that because he's so good. Now, there's no guarantee Lucas Van Ness is on that level, but I think he very well could be. And I expect that the thinking has changed about how to handle a kid like that especially if you have, you've got Rashawn's going to be on a snap count. He's going to get a ton of snaps. It's my other reason. To see how he develops. There's going to be times when he just makes absolutely the wrong spin move or plants at the wrong time where he gets stymied, double teamed, and he can't fight through it. But the combination, too, the dynamic between Kenny Clark now playing 3 technique and Slayton in the middle at the 0-1 nose up on the center is going to draw a lot of double teams. I think Van Ness is going to surprise in his productivity because Rashawn Gary is on the field and because Kenny Clark is gobbling up double teams and because Slayton is just a big, big dude. Not so much Slayton because he may not be on the field during passing downs and the downs in which the edge rushers eat. Your 3rd and 5 to 3rd and 8 or worse. But yeah, I'm really excited about him. I've got a little bit of, my own pride on the line with this one, right? Certainly he can't be a bust or I am a loser at that point. But really excited to see him, an Iowa kid. These guys, these Iowa kids come into the NFL much more football ready than a lot of schools out there. You come from the SEC, you expect these guys to be football ready. If you come from the Badgers and you're an offensive tackle or lineman, you're expected to be football ready. Same thing with Iowa. But, guys like we bring in, from Iowa, Lucas Van Ness, I expect him to be very football savvy. When Za'Darius played for us, I don't know if you knew this, but what they would do is they'd mug the A-gap with him. So you know what the A-gap is. Offensively, that's the first gap over from the center. And so you can have 2 edge rushers on the field, but one of your quote-unquote inside linebackers is standing up right over the A-gap on one side or the other. And he's standing up, which means all 3 of those guys could be milling around all the way up till the snap count, which is why Aaron Rodgers wanted to let the clock run down, because then the defense has to set. Really excited to see if, and I don't know that it's going to happen. I really don't know that I predict it, but if they start doing that with Lucas Van Ness, I think he's played a lot in the interior, and I'm trying to parse out why that would matter for his football intelligence that he would need at the next level, but it certainly can't hurt. So I'm excited for the possibility that maybe we see him if he comes on and Rashawn Gary's back. He's like a Carrington Valentine, and it's like, we got to get the kid on the field. Let's let him mug the A-gap. I can't wait. Okay, so should I close it now?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered all our bases, I think. We've gone through all the predictions, got our hot takes out, and talked about the rookie we're excited about. Excited about this podcast. Thanks for jumping on. I think we should do this again, maybe like once a week. What do you think? All right, once a week for the season at least, and if the Packers make it. With both of our predictions, a 12-win season or an 11-win season, you're very possibly getting a wild card spot right there, especially in the NFC.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys, it has been great being with you. Thank you so much for joining us. Just Gmail, Nameless Packers Pod. If you want to ask us a question, you can ask us anything. It doesn't have to be about football. I do lean toward football stuff, as you probably noticed in my prediction, but we will cover everything. We want to know what you want to know about us, what you want to know about the Packers, what you want about everything. So we will catch you next time. Join us. Go Pack.